The 90s and the early 2000s was the last great era of the family movie, in my personal opinion. We'll talk about it more in just a second here. For me, growing up in the late 90s, early 2000s, it seemed like there were family movies almost every other month. Studios were releasing all sorts of family movies on top of each other. Obviously, you had Disney at the top, but you also had Warner releasing stuff, MGM releasing stuff, Universal releasing stuff, Paramount releasing stuff through Nickelodeon. Then you had DreamWorks on the rise with all of their animated films, and it felt like the family movie was completely unstoppable. And then you go back further into the 90s, and you get all these live-action family movies, and some of you had Disney's whole animated renaissance. You had Toy Story with Pixar. You had all these different things going on, and family movies were just everywhere. They were kind of ubiquitous. They were all over the place. And nowadays, it seems like there's no more dominant family movies left. There are a couple of them that do good. Super Mario Brothers did $1 billion, but Puss in Boots did pretty good too, but they're not what they used to be. The Illumination movies outside of Mario haven't really performed all that well. You're not seeing a whole lot from Disney. The Disney movies are indistinguishable from the Pixar movies. The DreamWorks stuff is just very lacking. They've gotten pathetic since Shrek. They haven't had a good one since, what, How to Train Your Dragon? The first one? I don't even know what the second one was like because I didn't even bother going to see it. It just seems like the family movie is going extinct. That or it's just being kicked to streaming and nobody knows about it, but there were so many family movies back in the day, and I only have realized this because of all the late 90s or the 90s and the early 2000s promos and commercials I've been watching. I watch a bunch of the Nickelodeon ones from 1990 onward, and it seemed like almost every commercial break there was one or two major family movies that were being promoted. It was crazy. Some of them I remember from having watched on video. Obviously, I didn't see them in the theaters because I was born in 92, but the point still stands was that there were one on top of the other. There was a variety. There was a time where you could probably go see 3 or 4 family movies at a time. But yet, once you get past 2005 or into the mid-2010s, it seems like the family movie well just dries up. And I've got a couple of reasons as to why I think that it dried up like it did. I don't think it actually naturally dried up. I think what happened was Hollywood started looking at targeted demographics, and they started leaning into targeted demographics. They started to say, well, wait a second, what if we take the kids and the adults and the teenagers and we split them all up and we target each of them individually, so that way when a family goes to the movie theater, they can all split up and we can get multiple ticket revenues. I think that's one theory. I don't know if there's any real credence to that, but it makes sense from a financial standpoint. If you've got the kids over safe in one movie, then you got the adults over safe in another movie, and then you got grandma and grandpa doing whatever grandma and grandpa do, then they're gaining multiple forms of ticket revenue. And I think that that's what they decided. Instead of having everybody together in one theater seeing one movie, just split them up. Just have multiple movies coming out, and I can't tell you whether that was a success or a failure, but for people like me who missed the era of the family movie, it was a failure. I don't care for a lot of the modern adult quote-unquote movies, or even what passes as the family movies. Now a lot of people say, well, Marvel movies are family movies. They're rated PG-13. They're not family movies. There's going to be more adult stuff in them. Yeah, they're just barely passable for kids, but they're not family movies. Don't kid yourself. Don't kid yourself. They're not family movies. They're not meant to be family movies. They're meant to be mostly teenage and adult films. They're not meant for kids as well. A family movie is one that everybody can go see, even if there's more adult-leaning jokes into it or jokes that'll go over kids' heads. They're movies that everybody can go see together. I think around 2005, you started seeing less and less family movies. Granted, I started to go see more mature movies around then, like King Kong, Peter Jackson's King Kong, the Star Wars Episode 3, and stuff like that. That was more adult, more PG-13. I think Star Wars Episode 3 was my first PG-13 movie. I think my first rated R movie was Gladiator, which I didn't even watch all the way through. So, I think Hollywood just completely gave up. I think they decided it's more cost effective to split up the audience than to keep them together. But the family movie used to dominate, man. It used to dominate almost every theater. It was crazy. I remember being on vacation in New York or in New Hampshire, and there was always a movie playing. So we went to, in New Hampshire, it was whatever mall is in North Conway that has the movie theater. If you're familiar with the area, you know what I'm talking about. And then when we went to New York, we went to Watertown. So it was at the Salmon Run Mall, that movie theater, which is actually, I haven't been there in years, but it was a pretty nice theater. It only had, I think, 4 screens, but it was a nice little theater. And then at home in Rhode Island, we went to Showcase Cinemas in Warwick, the original Showcase there. And now I'm in PA, so there's like 3 or 4 different theaters that I can go to. But regardless, we used to go to the theater and watch a movie on a slow day on our vacations. You know, on a vacation, the last thing you want to do is be stuck in front of a screen, but that's what we did. And we also went to rent videos because the rental system, there was all sorts of family videos. I miss those days so much. I really do. I miss the days where families were brought together by movies. I really do. I miss arguing over which movies to rent. I miss the smell of the rental places. I miss all of it. We need to go back. We've still got physical media. Come on, people. Start independent video rental stores again. Come on. They'll take off, maybe. I don't really know. But I miss them. And I miss the days of the family film. The family film just isn't made the way they used to be. Look at half the live-action Disney movies in the 90s. You had stuff like The Big Green, Cool Runnings. Can't really think of a whole lot of the other ones, but those 2 stood out. Heavyweights, was that Disney or was that like Touchstone or somebody? I don't remember. We used to call Heavyweights Fat Camp. That's how we always remembered it. What else? I mean, there was a ton of them. There's a whole bunch of them. The Home Alone movies, as an example, around Christmas time. Matilda. Harriet the Spy, with Nickelodeon's first movie. Snow Day, another Nickelodeon movie, featuring the girl who played Harriet the Spy. She was in a lot of stuff. Michelle Trachtenberg, whatever her name was. She was in a lot of stuff. Wasn't on a whole lot of TV, though. She was on, I think, Figure It Out and all that. But there was just so many. And then the early 2000s hit, and forget about it. The family movie is just everywhere. There's dozens of animated movies because DreamWorks got started. Pixar, Disney, Warner. You've got all these companies making these animated movies because Disney found so much success in the 90s. And then Toy Story took off, so then DreamWorks is like, yeah, we can do that. And they do. Movies like Ants and Shrek and the Bible movies, which were fantastic, like Joseph, King of Dreams, and Prince of Egypt, both of which were really good Bible films. I'm surprised. There's just more available for families. Yeah, sure, there's more adult movies, but there was plenty of family films, and it was comforting, and it was nice. It was a uniting force. There's not much that unites families anymore. Everything's trying to divide the family up ideologically, politically. And I think people miss the era of the family movie, especially now that a lot of people my age are having their own families, and they just want stuff to be able to enjoy with their kids, but they really can't. They have to go through the old libraries, which I would recommend people do. Go through the old Disney libraries, the old DreamWorks libraries, the old Universal libraries. There's plenty of family movies. Even legendary classics like E.T. and The Goonies and The Sandlot. That's more leaning towards the 80s, but still, the era of the family movie has just all but disappeared. And I wish Hollywood would rediscover the family movie and just really go back to making it again, but I don't think Hollywood has any family values left, which is a real tragedy. So I wouldn't be holding my breath for another sort of renaissance of family movies. I just don't think it's going to happen. Perhaps through animation, through Illumination, but I don't really see the family movie becoming the dominant force that it once was in the 90s and early 2000s, even in the 80s as well. But I remember most of the 90s movies just because I grew up with most of them through rentals and things like that, and the stuff in the early 2000s that was coming out in the theaters. Remember being excited seeing movies like Jimmy Neutron and Lilo and Stitch, and we went to go see Finding Nemo on that Father's Day, and The Incredibles, which was just amazing. I remember walking out of that movie thinking it was the best Pixar movie I had seen at the time. Remember seeing stuff like Ratatouille and thinking that wasn't bad. Emperor's New Groove was probably my favorite Disney movie of all time. I remember seeing that in theaters and renting it a dozen times, seeing it on TV all the time. Atlantis the Lost Empire was just an amazing journey. I'm not even entirely sure I saw that one in the theater. Treasure Planet, which has found a cult following today, even though it wasn't terribly successful at the time. So many good family movies, animated, live action, weird mix-ups in between. I just miss it. Does anybody else? I can't be the only one who misses the family movie and the era of the family movie and the family trips to the cinema where everybody was together. I think that was a beautiful time in American and world history, and it's just being erased by people who care more about ideology than about making a wholesome family film. That used to be Disney's MO. They made their money off of those movies and television shows, and they won't do it anymore. It's heartbreaking. It's genuinely heartbreaking. I feel genuinely sad about it. I cheer on the demise of Disney because modern Disney sucks and the people who ruined it suck. But the legacy that's there is what pretty much raised me as far as media was concerned, and my sisters as well. And it's just sad. It really is sad. But anyways, let me know what you think down in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching. This has been Super Koopa TV. Remember, Hollywood does not respect you. I will see you guys next time. God bless. Have a good one. Peace.